Hello, algebra students. All right, we're going to wrap up our last little mini unit for the year, or we're going to start our last little mini unit. All right, it's on sequences. All right, so there are two types of sequences we're going to look at. The first is an arithmetic sequence, and that's basically a linear relationship. And then after we do this, we're going to look at something called a geometric sequence, and that's more of an exponential relationship. Now remember, when you have a linear relationship, okay, you're going to add or subtract the same value, all right? And that number you add or subtract is your rate or your slope, okay? But we use a different term for that when we talk about sequences, all right? So what we're going to do here is we're going to identify the pattern and write the next term. All right, so if you look at this sequence, this is a sequence. All right, it starts at 5, and then it goes to 7 to 9 to 11. All right, and hopefully you're noticing the pattern. From 5 to 7, it's going up by 2. And from 7 to 9, it goes up by 2, and then 9 to 11, it goes up by 2. All right, this amount we call the common difference. Right? Because the difference between 5 and 7 is 2. The difference between 9 and 7 is 2. And since it's always 2, we call it a common difference. All right? So that common difference is like our slope. All right? So if I want the next term in the sequence, it would go up by 2. It would be 13. All right? Sometimes the numbers will go up. Sometimes they're going to go down. All right, so if you look at this second one, right, it goes from 30 to 25 to 20 to 15. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to find the pattern. Right, how much is it going up by each time or down by each time? And from 30 to 25, it's going down by 5. And then from 25 to 20, continues to go down by 5. Right, so this -5 is our common difference. All right, and we use D for difference, is -5. All right, if you continue going down by 5, the next term would be 10. If you wanted to keep going, then it would go to 5. And keep going, then it would go 0. And you can keep going on and on forever and ever. All right, take a moment, see if you can figure out the common difference in this next one. All right, it goes from -8 to -5 to -2 to +1. Right? Keep in mind, the more negative you are, the smaller the number. So when it goes from -8 to -5, it's actually increasing. All right? So from -8 to -5, it's going up by 3. From -5 to -2, going up by 3. So our common difference D, +3. All right, so the next term after 1 would be 4. And if you wanted to keep going, then it would be 7, 10, etc., etc. All right? All right. The next one, it goes from 20 to 8. All right, so that's a decrease in 12. All right, 8 to -4, it's going down by 12. So our common difference, -12. So if I subtracted 12 from 16, my next term would be -28. All right, so what we're going to try to do now is try to come up with a formula or an equation that represents the sequence. Now here's the thing about a sequence. It's a little different than an equation. There's one slight difference. All right, so if I look at this sequence, I'm going to rewrite it. 5, 7, 9, 11. The numbers in the sequence are actually your y values. All right, now here's the difference between an equation and a sequence. Equations usually start at 0. All right, each one of these is a term. All right, notice how 5 comes first. So you would call this the first term, and then 7 would be the second term, and then 9 is the third term. All right, you wouldn't start talking about terms and say it's the 0 term. That would sound silly. So you always start with the first term. So that means the first term's 5. When it's 5, your x is 1. The second term is 7. That means when it's 7, x is 2. Your third term is 9. That means x is 3. And the fourth term is 11. So when x is 4, y is 11. So what you could do is, you could try to write an equation, all right? These are going up by 2. Each time it goes up by 2. That means my difference, which is really my slope, is 2. And you could go backwards, right? If I'm going from 1, I got to go backwards to get to 0 because I don't know that term. So if this direction, they're going up by 2. If you went backwards, if you go 11, 9, 7, they're going down by 2. 5, and then the next term would be 3, and that would be your y-intercept. So your equation would be y equals 2x plus 3, right? Because your general form is mx plus b. All right, but you could, if you wanted to, graph it, right? Right? When x is 1, your y is 5. And when x is 2, your y is 7. And when x is 3, your y was 9. And the last one is going to go off the page. But if you look, we're going up 2 and over 1. And you could go backwards. You can go down 2, left 1. And you'll see that was the y-intercept, was 3. Okay? You don't always have a grid handy, which is why you want to be able to write it without the grid. All right? All right. Let me pause the video, and I'll do a couple more examples in another video.